One of the things that I love about the Urantia book is that you would expect it to be this far-off, New Age type document, a channeling, where everything is about these beings that exist in other dimensions and other realms, beings such as the seraphic guardians of destiny, the supreme being, and so forth. And it is that, but it also has these genius level assessments of the world that we live in and what we're experiencing here from the perspective of a being who has seen it happen many, many times on many, many different planets. So we're looking at this. These are the words of a Melchizedek, people. Everybody seems to really resonate with Melchizedek, and rightfully so, considering how advanced of a spiritual being he was who gave revelation to our planet. So let's look at some of these ideas about religion purely as a way to let the rot gut or the things that are not serving us sift through and find these gems and then use those in our own spiritual progression and ascension, because that's what it is all about. Here we go. The composite religion. 20th century Urantia religions present an interesting study of the social evolution of man's worship impulse. Many faiths have progressed very little since the days of the ghost cult. And the ghost cult is where early evolutionary man had dreams about ghosts and he didn't know where people were going when they died and things like that. So he established religions based around his dreams, basically. The pygmies of Africa have no religious reactions as a class, although some of them believe slightly in a spirit environment. They are today just where primitive man was when the evolution of religion began. The basic belief of primitive religion was survival after death. The idea of worshiping a personal god indicates advanced evolutionary development, even the first stage of revelation. So the first stage of revelation here was Prince Caligastia on this planet was supposed to be a spiritual being who was helpful for us, but he went into betrayal. However, before he did send out ideas, revelations of a personal God, and those even filtered through the whole entire world. The Dayaks have evolved only the most primitive religious practices. They comparatively recent Eskimos and Amerines have very meager concepts of God. They believe in ghosts and had an indefinite idea of survival of some sort of after death. So it's primitive. They have a primitive concept of God, only to that degree which it was upstepped by revelation. So the point here is that the religions need this revelation, or else they will mutter around in this ghost cult thing on their own for, a million years. We're talking. They say that the earliest humans evolved 1 million years ago. Present-day native Australians have only a ghost fear, dread of the dark, and a crude ancestor veneration. Now, this was written in between the 1930s and 50s, so maybe many of these groups have been contacted, and I don't know, maybe the internet has reached various areas, but it's not like they're, you get the idea. The Zulus are just evolving a religion of ghost fear and sacrifice. Many African tribes, except through missionary work, see, they were able to get a revelation out to them, of Christians and Mohammedans are not yet beyond the fetish stage of religious evolution. So that's like they're having these objects that they thought, oh, this was our dear chieftain's head. Let us keep this because this thing is now our God. But some groups have long held to the idea of monotheism, like the one-time Thracians, I don't know who they are, who also believed in immortality. On Urantia, evolutionary and revelatory religion are progressing side by side, while they blend and coalesce into the diversified theologic systems found in the world In the times of indictment of these papers, these religions, the religions of 20th century Urantia, may be enumerated as follows. 1. Hinduism is the most ancient religion. The Hebrew religion, Buddhism, and I know people like to say, well, Buddhism's not a religion, but it's not really exactly a philosophy. You wouldn't exactly say it's a philosophy either, because they are reaching into the spiritual. And as much as they like to thread this savvy needle that they are saying, no, we're not reaching the spiritual because all blah, 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 all is Buddhism and things like that. There's many that are, okay? And I looked that up because somebody was debating me recently in a comment. Well, I'm not debating, but they were trying to debate. And I said, well, I just read the Wikipedia article, and it said that scholars are having debates about whether or not they consider Buddhism a faith-based religion, because some of the branches do dip into calling, Buddha like a spiritual being. And as soon as you begin to call him more than just a human man that is capable of things, even beyond physics, right? As soon as you go beyond physics, people, provable things by science, it's a spiritual thing, okay? It's spiritual. The Confucian teachings, the Taoist beliefs, Zoroastrianism, Shinto, Jainism, Christianity. So there it is. Oh, and Islam. Oh, wait, here we go. Whoa, Sikhism. The most recent, interestingly enough. So there's 11. They're breaking it down into 11 main groupings. And Buddhism, like, for instance, has 3 different sects. Christianity probably has 1,000 different and so forth, okay? But it's these 11 main groupings. The most advanced religions of ancient times were Judaism and Hinduism, and each respectively had great influence the course of religious development in Orient and Occident. Now, they're not including Buddhism in that because they refer to Buddhism as both, as do the practitioners. They're referring to it as a philosophy in the Urantia book, and they're also referring it to as a religion. Of religious development in Orient and Occident. Both Hindus and Hebrews believe that their religions were inspired and revealed, and they believe all others to be decadent forms of the one true faith. India is divided among Hindu, Sikh, Mohammedan, and Jain, each picturing God, man, and the universe as these are variously conceived. China follows the Taoist and Confucian teaching. Shinto is revered in Japan. The great international interracial faiths are the Hebraic, Buddhist, Christian, and Islamic. Buddhism stretches from Ceylon and Burma through Tibet and China to Japan. It has shown an adaptability to the mores of many peoples. Okay, so they do speak about Buddhism being highly adaptable in that way. And in fact, interestingly enough, when you go into a yoga studio in the United States, you're going to see pictures of Buddha, like a New Age yoga studio. They're probably going to say, like, Namaste. I don't know. I believe that came from Buddhism. Or maybe, I don't know. But anyways, you're going to see these ties because Buddhism does have that openness to it, which was one of its great strengths. But its dogma was its downfall of not allowing there to be a personal deity in some sects. That has been equaled only by Christianity, okay? Christianity, apparently, it has shown adaptability to the mores of many peoples that has been equaled only by Christianity. So Christianity, because of these mores, now when they say mores, they're talking about a understanding of social acceptable norms and things like that, like monotheism. Someone might consider monogamy. Somebody might consider monogamy to be a more. But what we know is that monogamy stems from the divine because it requires that growth of character that it takes in order to remain monogamous. And that is the type of character growth that thrives in the universe, that helps man ascend from his lowly animal origins, which would be, let's have sex with everybody who walks in front of me sort of thing, or even two or even three, a polygamy, to no. I know that's my animal urge, but I'm going to prioritize because it's good for my family and it's good for this person. And my child will understand more about mom and dad and blah, 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 right? A million and one reasons. So that, because some of these things are stemming from the divine, these character things, they're more than just mores. And like a more, for instance, might be something like, we say Merry Christmas. And they thought that there was a big campaign against Merry Christmas and things like that. Like politically, that was like used as a political issue and stuff. But that's just a more. That doesn't really matter to anybody, on a spiritual level, whether you say Merry Christmas or not. I mean, you can just look at somebody and smile and continue to walk. But that might be against the mores that you do that and you not say Merry Christmas. So mores aren't necessarily divine in origin, but some of them do have overlaps. So Christianity, because Christianity teaches about monogamy, right? So, just various things you'd have to go through. The Hebrew religion encompasses the philosophic transition from polytheism to monotheism. It is an evolutionary link between the religions of evolution and the religions of revelation. So it's like the missing link. If you were to look, because before we had the Hinduism and things, which were very much polytheistic, many, many gods. And so Hebrew is the ancient of the monotheists. The Hebrews were the only Western people to follow their early evolutionary gods straight through to the God of revelation. Wow. But this truth never became widely accepted until the days of Isaiah, who once again taught the blended idea of a racial deity combined with a universal creator. Quote, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, you are God, even you alone, you have made heaven on earth. And at one time, the hope of the survival of the Occidental civilization lay in the sublime Hebraic concepts of goodness and the advanced Hellenic concepts of beauty. So they're combining things here, as it was saying earlier, because the Greeks were all about the beauty. The Christian religion is the religion about the life and the teachings of Christ. About is the key operating word. It's not the religion of Christ. It's the religion about Christ. But again, in any one of these groups, people, these are just the main kind of theologies of the group. There's individuals within each group who really is, might call himself a Christian, but he's really living the religion of Jesus. So it's not to say that every individual, and there's people in the Buddhist thing that believe in a God, a personality God. So you can't just typecast every single person in the group when you say that, It's not saying Christians are living a religion about Jesus. It's saying the Christian religion. And if you looked at it on paper, it's the religion about Jesus, not the religion of Jesus. Jesus never said Bible this, but that's what they're all about. Bible, Bible, Bible. Okay. Based upon the theology of Judaism, modified further through the assimilation of certain Zoroastrian teachings and Greek philosophy, and formulated primarily by three individuals. See, these are who is changing this. Philo, Peter, and Paul, right? It passed through, and look at, there's also Zoroastrian in there. It passed through many phases of evolution since the time of Paul, and it has become so thoroughly occidentalized that many non-European peoples very naturally look upon Christianity as a strange revelation of a strange God and for strangers, taking away from universality. And Jesus, being the creator of a local universe, is the opposite of non-universal. Islam is the religio-culture connective of North Africa, the Levant, and Southeastern Asia. It was Jewish theology in connection with later Christian teachings that made Islam monotheistic. The followers of Muhammad stumbled at the advanced teachings of the Trinity. They cannot comprehend the doctrine of 3 divine personalities and 1 deity. It is always difficult to induce evolutionary minds suddenly to accept advanced revealed truth. Okay, so there's beings who write this book, this Melchizedek, is very much aware of what this is all about. I mean, they've seen it on many, many inhabited planets, so they know what evolutionary animals, basically, these early man, are just one step above animal, right? They're practically super animal. So they know that it can't be this sudden thing right now, right? So even this book, like, a book is so passive, and it's going to, like, filter out. There's going to be early pioneers who can read this and say, holy shit, what the hell is this revelation? This thing is insane. Look at the way they talk about religion. So frankly, so matter of the factly. They're not attached to these ideas like somebody that's talking about a religion, but they're also allowing the truth of God and spirituality to run through it. So it's not like just reading a cultural commentary about religion either. There's that advanced truth in there. So people will read this book. Early pioneers of spirituality like us will read this and say, whoa, what the heck are all these? This is something here. This is something to be... Oh, please like and subscribe, by the way. This is something to be studied. But it's not being forced or anything like that. It's not a sudden thing. How long is it going to take for the Urantia book to filter through the society? Man is an evolutionary creature, and in the main must get his religion by evolutionary techniques. Ancestor worship one time constituted a decided advance in religious evolution. But it is both amazing and regrettable that this primitive concept persists in China and Japan and India amidst so much that is relatively more advanced, such as Buddhism and Hinduism. Ancestor worship is exactly what it says. Your grandfather is God and so forth. In the Occident, ancestor worship developed into the veneration of natural gods and respect for racial heroes. In the 20th century, this hero-venerating nationalist religion makes its appearance in the various radical and national secularisms which characterize many races and nations of the Occident. Much of this same attitude is also found in the great universities and the larger industrial communities of the English-speaking peoples. Not very different from these concepts is the idea that religion is but a shared quest of the good of life. Look at that's a genius level assessment of that's a downstepping of the truth right there. It's like a nationalist almost kind of, you could just say, hey, we're on the same quest together. It's secular. This is a secular way to take, I'm going to believe in God, and we're going to believe in God, and then you're downstepping it now and secularizing it. And now within this quote, there's no mention of God, in fact. But to people that share this, or people that are, not taking that step to spiritualism, and they're still having a secular approach to religious, even if they might be self-deceiving themselves into thinking that it is spiritual, you have to ask yourself, what is good? Where does good stem from? And that's where you start to use philosophy to approach this understanding of what you're thinking about, what you're believing, and what you're thinking, okay? Because if you philosophically analyze the word good, who's deciding what good is? If you're spiritual, then you understand that stems from God. Goodness is not a human construct, where many of the philosophers believe that everything is a human construct. And that's where you come into this thing called postmodernism, which is that everybody is holding a different view inside of their mind. And because everybody has a different view and a different interpretation, one is just as good as the other. And so, for instance, in postmodern art, well, we'll talk about that another time. Okay. The national religions are nothing more than a reversion to the early Roman emperor worship and to Shinto, worship of the state and the imperial family. Okay. National religions is your Christian nationalism. That's all that is worship of the state and things like that, right? We're the best. Nationalism is an infantile disease, folks. It is the measles of mankind. That nationalism dangerous because it's rah rah, we're the best. Other guy gets to be bombed, and it doesn't make a difference because he's brown or whatever. It doesn't matter. He's different than me, so he shall die because we're the best. And that's what their understanding is that we see permeating throughout the world today. United States nationalism, Chinese nationalism. Everybody's thinks that they're the best, you know. Patriotism is fine because patriotism is just rah rah. Our team is great. Let's go team. But nationalism is we're the superior nation. And if we have to wipe out, make the sand glow. I remember that was when they were doing the Iraq war and things like that. Bush and all them people that wanted to just, let's just invade them. They're the inferior. And they would use racial slurs and things about Middle Eastern people. Make the sand glow. Let's bomb the sand until it just becomes glass and habitable. So that's why, you know, you got to go to the God state here, folks. You got to go to, we're all on the same team here in this world. Once you expand your concept of there being many inhabited worlds and Urantia as being we're all peoples of Urantia, simple concepts, but just really not practiced by a lot of beings for many reasons. One of the reasons being that they have been systematically made to think that the other nations are inferior and that those people are inferior by their media and so forth. And we're talking, you know, just massive campaigns here. But again, none of that has anything to do with us because we're much, much more beyond that. Interesting little page in the Urantia book. So remember, that's just one page of that wisdom, how frankly they're speaking about our world's religions in this book. Okay, so let's continue to get the ball rolling here, folks. Like and subscribe. Thanks again for checking out the videos, and we'll see you next time.